Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and tonight we are going to focus on the future of energy in the entire world and more specifically here in the country. And of course we will be particularly focusing and concentrating on the future of green hydrogen, the strategy of Egypt in terms of developing such an important source of energy. And I'm honored to be having with me in the studio for tonight to be talking about such an important topic for the future of humanity, for the future of the world, and for the future of Egypt in terms of energy is Dr. Gamal Qalioubi, the Professor of Petroleum and Energy Engineering. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much for you.
Anytime. First of all, we will be starting straight away with the top stories that took place on Sunday as President Sisi meets the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken as the Middle East diplomacy tour wraps up. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met the American Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Cairo on Thursday as he concluded a tour in the Middle East over the war in Gaza. The visit came a day after President al-Sisi met King Abdullah of Jordan and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in the Red Sea port of Aqaba as Washington pushed for a path forward from the bloodshed in Gaza, even as the conflict threatens to spread further to Lebanon, Iraq and the Red Sea shipping lanes. Egypt and Jordan warned after the talks that the Israeli crackdown, which has killed more than 23,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, must not displace the Strip's 2.3 million people or end in an Israeli occupation. Another piece of top story, or an item of top stories for today on Thursday, took place through the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who had received a phone call from the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received a phone call from the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak, to discuss developments in the regional scene in light of the current situation in the Gaza Strip, where the ongoing movements and communications to push for a ceasefire, protect civilians and exchange detainees were reviewed. Mr. President stressed that it is the responsibility of the international community to ensure the access of relief aid to the people of the Gaza Strip to end the long-term humanitarian suffering. The call also touched on the situation in the Red Sea region and navigation security, where the importance of intensive work was stressed to avoid expanding the circle of a conflict in the region and to enhance security and stability factors on the regional level. And the final top story on Thursday comes from the Netherlands, and more specifically from The Hague, as Israel faces the genocide charges at the World Court and the Gazans return to the wasteland. Israel faced down accusations at the World Court on Thursday of genocide in the war in Gaza as the first residents returned to the scenes of total devastation in the northern areas where the Israeli forces have begun withdrawing this week. A continent away from the war in Gaza, South Africa accused Israel of committing genocide against the Palestinians there and pleaded with the United Nations top court on Thursday to order an immediate halt to the country's military operation. South African lawyers said during the opening arguments that the latest Gaza war is part of the decades-long oppression of the Palestinians by Israel. The two-day hearing is the public side of a landmark case, one of the most significant to be heard in an international court, and goes to the heart of one of the world's most intractable conflicts. 3 months of the Israeli bombardment has laid much of the narrow coastal enclave to waste, killing more than 23,000 people and driving nearly the entire population of 2.3 million Palestinians from their homes. An Israeli blockade has sharply restricted the supplies of food, fuel and medicine, creating what the United Nations describes as a humanitarian catastrophe. And we will be heading to the first report of the daily debate for tonight, which focuses on the strategy of Egypt in implementing the resource of green hydrogen in terms of having such a source for the future of energy in the country and more globally as well. More details in the upcoming reports, so stay tuned.
Egypt's interest in green hydrogen is picking up steam, and it is principal to underscore the availability of the political will. This was demonstrated by the announcement of Egypt's green hydrogen strategy during COP27, which was developed in collaboration with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development and the Arab Union for Sustainable Development and Environment. The hydrogen strategy splits the state's goal for the sector into 3 stages. The experimental stage, green hydrogen expansions by 2030 and full implementation and beyond by 2040. The strategy estimated that the hydrogen economy would rise 7-fold by 2050, giving Egypt a substantial share of the international market, an increase in GDP of 10 to 18 billion US dollar and more than 100,000 jobs. Egypt hopes to capture 5% of the international hydrogen market by 2030 and 8% by 2040 through establishing an international export center for hydrogen and its derivatives to achieve energy security and accomplish the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, between 2030 and 2040. Egypt's green hydrogen 6 project plans currently amount to almost 12 gigawatt, equivalent to more than 1.57 million tons of green hydrogen. If such plans were fully implemented, Egypt's capacity would expand to provide 1/6 of the 10 million tons of green hydrogen the EU plans to import by 2030. Egypt's first green hydrogen facility lies in the economic zone of the Suez Canal. It is also the first integrated green hydrogen plant in Africa. Green hydrogen will be used for green ammonia production to boost Egyptian exports and advance its decarbonization. Once fully operational, it is expected to save about 130,000 carbon dioxide emissions annually.
Welcome back. You're still watching the daily debate, and as I said in the beginning, that tonight I'm honored to be having with me in the studio Dr. Gamal Qalioubi, the Professor of Petroleum and Energy Engineering. Thank you very much once again for being with us tonight. We will be starting straight away with the definition of green hydrogen. What is the target of green hydrogen for the entire globe, and more specifically here in Egypt for it?
In general definitions for the green hydrogens, that's the normal for electrolysis of the H2O water. Whenever to put electricity inside, there is 2 portions of the contribution of a water. It's 2 molecules of oxygens and 1 for hydrogens. The part of that is the part of the hydrogen itself. So this mechanism, it's called the electrolysis mechanism, which allows to us to release or to separate the hydrogens from water.
Yes.
But now the source of electricity is, if it's renewable energies like wind energy or solar energies, if that source is coming from renewable energies to achieve that mechanism of electrolysis, this it's called the hydrogens produced from this mechanism processing. It's called green hydrogens. There is no carbon emissions in that cycle. Start from electricity, drop to the water, proceed with the mechanism of analysis, separately post to side of atomics hydrogens and also oxygen atomics. Both all this processing, it's called green hydrogens. So that component of the hydrogens allow to us to use a hydrogen as a pure gas allowed to energize with zero carbon. So there is no any carbon emission in that part, allowed to use energy in a clean environmental, like that's a base concept of producing the green hydrogens.
Yes, what is the target for the entire globe to be making the best out of green hydrogen?
Yeah, the good questions. Display back, like I said, since 5 years, I think that a lot of expensive researchers have been applying in such mechanism to produce hydrogens in a green way. And I think that's a lot of countries, specific, I would like to mention for that specific countries, like Australia and Japan. I think that those two countries had been proceed with a lot of research since 5 years. And this is allowed to them to reduce in their countries hydrogen in a proper way, safe way, allowed to use that such a fuel in a safely way to replace the natural gas. Let me to start with that long story of our research,
yes.
Because hydrogens, you can produce the hydrogens. Now you need to store the hydrogens. Since you put in a proper storage the hydrogens, what kind of phases you would like to put the hydrogens? Gas phase or liquefied phase? Second, how you transfer or you transport such hydrogens had been stored to the consumption's market.
Yes.
This is need device of safely transportation, which get a lot of trial and researching to achieve a proper, successful and safety manner to deliver that green hydrogens to the market. The story had been started in UK, and this is in the fourth quarter of 2021, and this is through the Energy Network Authority, ENA, the British, and this is try to produce the hydrogens in a very local tight piping line, and this had been tested through educational university, which is called Gamal University in UK. They tried to test how to produce hydrogens with 20% and mix with natural gas with 80%, and they tried to pump it, such mix of gases across dedicated pipeline accommodates for 100 houses and 30 buildings educationally. That test allowed to put ultimate remote safety in using that trial, and they already proceed with that trials for 3 months, and the result was very positively that there is no change in the piping line or infrastructure of all the gas piping line devices had been already settled till now in Europe, all the Europe, and they already come up with a positive result that hydrogen can be transferred from the source of you produce till the source of consumptions. In that part had been go for the deploy the second stage, how to use such hydrogen in mix with natural gas across all Europes. And that study also had been contributed by 2 different Europe companies. It's called DNA company, and the other one, it's called Carbon Limits company. These 2 companies contributed with sub-companies, 67 companies across a major Europe countries, and they tested to pump the same the hydrogens in the same infrastructure of natural gas piping across Europe country. This study had been in March 2022, and they put a mix of hydrogen 20% and 80%, same what happened in British, and they got a very positive results. There is no any effect in the pipeline, there is no any damaging truth in the pipeline. The third study, which is very also expensive, for the transportation through the shipping line. So in that time, they need to create a manufacturing to maintain that hydrogen in gas phase to convert it to liquefied phase, like natural gas. Because, you know, natural gas for us is transported in two ways. The first one in gas phenomena phase through the piping line, which is closed. You put a piping line from the source up to the factory, up to the houses, up to also any electric plant. All these consequences of piping line is accommodated well for the gas. They try to test with the same infrastructure of the gas with mix of hydrogens with the gas, and they already succeed without no side effect or problems or damaging on the infrastructure used for the gas. By that third one, the Japanese system tried to convert it and manufacturing allow to liquefied gas to be achieved. Because, you know, to achieve liquefied LNG gas, you need to freeze and press the gas from 0 up to minus 165 degrees.
Yes.
Okay? For the hydrogens, they reach to 253 degrees minus. In that successful manufacturing, allow that they can store such a liquefied of hydrogen in a storage tank. That's a storage tank can be mobilized across the ship from another country to another country. The first trial to move the first cargo tank between Australia and Japanese had been performed in Q4 2022. And they already built a dedicated ship, which is called Suez Frontier ship. That's the name of that ship.
About a year ago.
About 1 year ago.
Yes.
And they succeed to load one storage tank up to 1,260 tons of liquefied hydrogens moved from Australia to Japanese. And by this successful, also third story, research that's encouraged all the world from scratch to now oriented and focusing on a green hydrogens and how to use it in all applications in each countries.
Yes, on the other hand, you've mentioned, Doctor, that all those processes and all those transformative operations took place in Europe, for example, in Australia, towards Japan. But what about Egypt? What is the strategy of Egypt to be getting the best out of the green hydrogen for the field of fuel and energy?
Very respected questions, Ahmed. You know, back again, Egypt has a commitment, and this is by the leader of the country. The leader of the country had been already settled since 2015, a settled plan and a clear plan for all energy section in Egypt. Egypt before 2015 was individual producing of petroleum and gas. So we already independency to use both two kinds of fossil fuel for electricity and also for the fuel of our cars, plus the fuel, the domestic fuel in our houses.
Yes.
That's all such of consequences fuels types is dedicated for fossil fuel only. Since we have been started 2015 and we have some reduction which is coming by time according to the reserve decline by consumption rate, by population expansions, a lot of things that's affected directly to our strategies in terms of reservoir, in terms of a lot of prospection for us. We already tackling that situation from the beginning, 2015, that we have a energy mix basket, which allowed to us that we have many options and many also backups for what we have in terms of types of energies. We already oriented, and the country had been oriented that to go for renewable energies by percentage. Currently we are reached to 17-18%. Our target by 20 to 30 that we will reach to 35% in our producing of renewable energy. We talk about wind energies, we talk about solar energies. Currently we produce almost 0.6 megawatts of wind energies. We produce also up to 2.4 2,400 megawatts of solar energies. We have also hydroelectricity, high dam, Aswan 1 dam, Aswan 2, Isna, Naga Hammadi, all this type of hydroelectricity produce also almost 3,000 megawatts. So the total we have producing as a percentage of total production of all Egypt, we talk about almost 18%. So the country target was not also stopping that part in is a portional. That's another plan according to the good strong phenomena of encouragement to go for zero emission of carbon dioxide. So a country already started since we have COP27 in Sharm, that's last year. We have a lot of consequences and commitment by the government to deal with another or third option using a green hydrogens. And this is considered as a very high priority under the umbrella of Prime Ministry of Egypt, and they consider that we have a civil group, that's a civilization group, consider a plan, a clear plan with investment already done on plan currently and in processing a lot of hydrogen plant to be built in Egypt even by before 2028. So the consideration of that part is coming by the international encourage and the international also targets, and we meet and match with the requirements of our population. For that part we have two things. The first thing is to go for a green hydrogens. The second one is to use liquefied application of a green hydrogen, which it's called an ammonia gas. Ammonia gas is very serious and really important reflector of infratized manufacturing in Egypt by 70%, reflect in manufacturing of infratizing. So for that part is very beneficial also to produce a green hydrogen and use it to be as a convert for a very significant substance, gas, ammonia gas, which allow to us to use it in even manufacturing of infratizer, or also as a liquid fuel to be mobile with the shipment on the sea. You know, that's one of a very strong application to achieve a green hydrogen, or the hydrogen to convert it to ammonia gas. And that ammonia gas, if it freeze and depress up to minus 35 degrees, it can be liquefied and mobilized in tanks, and this is very applicable to be used as a fuel for all ship in the sea. That's in 3 applications for Egypt. So the first application to go for producing that part, and we have also a clear plan for the government for investment had been settled with some international companies, part of these companies, Belgium companies, part of American companies, part also of some of Europe countries, companies allowed to produce and invest in the hydrogen, green hydrogen for the upcoming next 3 years. Second part for the government orientation, also a part of this hydrogen to be used for producing electricity. And I think there is a clear agreement had been settled with the Renewable Energy Authority under the umbrella of Electricity Ministry, and a lot of studies had been settled and in progress now for infrastructure to be built in going. We have a lot of resources in Egypt. We have 2 seas, we have the Red Sea, we have the Mediterranean Sea. We have also in going now our nuclear plant in Dab'a, plus additional part of our growing investment in discovery of gas in Mediterranean Sea and also Nile Delta. Part of that also improving our and development our petroleum section. So the mix of that portfolio of energy allow to the country, and they can also to be static condition and the dynamic in the same way for our economy to build soonest we have all facilities and approach to go up.
Yes, Doctor, you mentioned a very important point, that this is the choice of the political leadership under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli to be having a mix of different energy portfolios here in the country. Of course, different infrastructure as well to be helping the purpose of the country in the field of energy. If we can focus on green hydrogen, how expensive would it be to be including green hydrogen into the mix right now? Because we need to be not going from one phase to the other, but we, as you mentioned, we need to be having this and that at the same time. Is it expensive to be including it?
Good question, Ahmed.
Thank you.
First of all, that's as a country, we are very strong because we have infrastructure of the gas is ready.
Yes.
We have infrastructure piping for the natural gas covered all 28 governors in Egypt, which allow that we have a lot of facilities to produce green hydrogens. And soonest we have, like I said, all the studies, European studies, American studies also, the government had been investigated well and already put it and settle a conclusion that whenever we got that results, we allow to us because we are ready. We have the infrastructure for the gas, natural gas is ready. We have also two factory of natural gas liquefied. We can use also the same facilities to produce a natural green liquefied hydrogens. So the whole infrastructure of the natural gas as a country, we are a very dedicated country in compared to the whole pool of Mediterranean Sea countries, 23 countries across the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. We are the only country, we have full piping line inside the country, and we have external piping line connected with another countries.
Yes.
And also we have in going now extra one pipeline which is connected Egypt to Cyprus, and part of that one extension to Greece. So all that consequences will allow to us that whenever ready to produce a green hydrogens, we have to use it at once. Due to what? Due to that the infrastructure of the pipe gas, natural gas is ready. We can mix with natural gas. We can also put a natural liquefied hydrogens across. And also I can tell you that we already tried to go with one of liquefied green hydrogens mobilities using the ammonia liquefied to be in a storage tank, and that's moved to be a fuel for a shipment inside the country, and we succeed in that part. So as an application, we are ready for all of this application allow to us whenever we have finished the infrastructure facilities for a green hydrogens. We are ready by all application to be used as a domestic fuel, to be used even for a gas for electricity plant, or to use it also for the fuel in Suez Canal ports, allowed to supply a fuel to all the shipment pass across Suez Canal.
Yes, Doctor, allow me to be going to the other report of the daily debate for tonight, or the second report of the program for tonight, which focuses on Egypt as being a trailblazer for clean energy globally. More details in the upcoming reports. Stay tuned.
Recent global developments proved that energy security necessitates the diversification of energy resources with a focus on green energy and minimizing dependency. Concerning global challenges in energy security sector, the most recent challenge in the energy security sector is the Russia-Ukraine war, which broke out in February 2022 and caused global energy market shockwaves. The repercussions on the global economy led to skyrocketing gas prices in Europe, soaring by 450%. Such crisis accelerated the demand of the European Union, the EU, for green hydrogen. The EU policy emphasizes importing hydrogen from southern and eastern neighborhood partners, southern neighborhood states, including Egypt. In this context, Egypt has recently announced its efforts to produce green hydrogen, aiming at becoming a major exporter. These efforts are part of a global trend towards decarbonization and the transmission of renewable energy sources. Egypt has abundant clean energy resources, including wind and solar energy. Thus, it aims at generating 42% of its electricity from renewable sources by 2035. The manufacture of green hydrogen is expected to play quite an essential role in achieving this target. Green hydrogen can help reduce carbon emissions from transportation, industry, and power generation.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I'm honored to be having with me in the studio for tonight Dr. Gamal Qalioubi. Dr. Gamal, of course, throughout the episode we have been speaking about the green hydrogen in specific, about the future of energy in general for the world and for Egypt. One of the main aims of the world leaders over the past 10 or 20 years is to be decreasing the amount of the carbon dioxide emissions. What is the role of Egypt in such a development, especially that this aim has been announced ever since the Paris Agreement?
Let me just highlight and just on figures, numbers. First of all, that the last report had been published, which at the end of 2022, which by the International Energy Authority, showed that the carbon dioxide emissions globally produced up to 36.8 gigatons of carbon dioxide emission. As a perception, carbon dioxide at a part, if you try to analyze according to the 5 continentals globally, you will find that the 20G or the 20 countries, mega countries, they already produce or response for production of that number up to 68%. So if you consider 20 countries from the global countries on the world, just a portion of a production for that part, we talk about 68% of a total 36.8 gigatons of carbon dioxide productions. That means supposed to that countries and supposed to have a loyalties to deliver a lot of attention and also of cost to reduce or to eliminate in the future that such amount huge affected the global weathers, and that global weather reacted in a lot of different phenomena, attacked the poor peoples, not the rich peoples.
Yes.
We talk about the storms, we talk about floodings, we talk about all sorts of quakes, a lot. If I consider 2023 what happened, you will see that you have ultimate mix of bad weathers reflect due to what? Intensively attaction of carbon dioxide to the atmospheric situation. So up on that part, I think that's COP27 very successfully done in Egypt and get a lot of commitment. One of that commitment, what is the counterpart of a poor peoples and a poor countries,
yes,
or less economy strongest in compared to the strongest countries they produce a lot of emissions, and that a lot of emission of carbon dioxide attacks the poor countries. So they supposed they have a take part to pay to overcome such reflects or negative reflex to the weather for the poor countries. And this is one of the important topics had been highlighted by Egypt on Sharm el-Sheikh 27 Cup. So that part allowed to make ring in earth for all countries in the world. So we never to continue for every year a conference for a COP. from country to another countries, like what happened also the one previously happened on Emirates. That also another vision had been delivered.
Yes.
That's the commitment of oil production countries in the world supposed to get a commitment also to pay in their budgetary items a part of how to reduce and eliminate the carbon dioxide carbon. Egypt, a part of the whole international media or the international committee, by our government, there is a lot of commitments have been considered. There is a part to consider very successful in the petroleum section, and I think that the petroleum section had been succeeding in that part because portion of that part is a foreigners, international companies. They are working inside petroleum section in Egypt, and by a good commitment between the government, the Egyptian government, and that companies, they already deducted for their budgets a part of the budget to reduce the carbon emissions with a clear plan for each company, and this is under supervision of the country or the government. So in that way, so each company produce a certain amount of production barrels, they already have a target to reduce certain of their carbon dioxide percentage. And if you try to apply the same philosophy, that's globally for the 27 cows companies, which it's already a cube, the whole international activities and the exploration, petroleum productions, everything like this, you will find that's already committed that percentage of every budget of each company, they already put a clear plan how to reduce the carbon emissions for each activities globally for them. By this part, I consider that Egypt and petroleum section have been considered to and succeed to reduce 2.4 million tons of carbon according to the consumptions of the fuel that we have. So, and consequences is coming, a target of the government to replace the oil petroleum fuel by natural gas, like what happened. Country had been obligated and encouraged all taxis, all cars, all buses, all heavy trucks to converted their fuel from benzene or diesel to use natural gas. And the country already delivered since 3 years, started from 2019 up to today, there is a green plus, which it's called a deal, allowed to any car, all the fashion cars, to be degraded, and completely the owner of this car can go for the banking and try to go for loan, and a part of that loan had been can be installed in installation for certain time. That's allow and encourage that all cars to go for a green or to use natural gas. And the natural gas, in compared to the fossil fuel, we talk about 1/5 times in compared to the fossil fuel producing carbon dioxide emission. So there is a lot of application had been already oriented by the country for the population to move from fossil fuel to the natural gas. The natural gas allowed us to reduce the carbon emissions, and that part in the buses, you have in the street now green buses, they use natural gas. You have also electricity buses or electricity car, it's zero emissions. So there is multi-types of encourage devices allow that the country had been committed to transfer the population attitude from the normal fossil fuel to the low carbon emission, and after that to go for no emission, zero carbon dioxide.
Cleaner and cleaner
That's by
energy.
2025.
Yes, as we are going on. Dr. Gamal Qalioubi, the Professor of Petroleum and Energy Engineering, thank you very much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for you.
And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.